Hello, hello, hello. The news has been off the charts today. Man, it was one of those days that it was a bit hard to keep up with it all. Um, Constant updates on everything. I mean, everything from the extra security in New Orleans with the Super Bowl and all the way to, of course, updates in Philadelphia, updates for DC, which I've got some interesting news with that to go over. Holy cow. Um, for now, I'll just say this. Even I initially was taken aback by Trump's comments about DEI after the DC midair collision. I was taken aback by that, didn't understand it, and thought it was completely distasteful. And, well, it turns out that there might be a little more accuracy to that than we knew. So I've got that information tonight as well. Man, wow. And then I had to have a chuckle because I guess old TJ with Bear Independent got his pee-pee schwacked. And so he had to put out, or chose to, I can't say had to, I don't know. But he put out a video earlier. It's, well, that's what happens when you just continually run your mouth and don't know when to stop. That's what happens. But anyway, again, I've got all kinds of stuff to cover. First off, wow. So I was just scrolling through Facebook and I saw, how they got those stupid shorts videos, and I never really click on them. I did this one just so I could see it bigger. But somebody was showing eggs where they were, and the eggs for like an 18 pack was like $18, and I was like, no way. And so I've seen a lot of this, and I've seen where people will choose like the most expensive eggs to take a picture of, and then all the shock of the cost and all that. So I wanted to see a bigger picture because I didn't necessarily recognize the carton. I wanted to see a bigger picture of the eggs, so I went ahead and made it full screen. And they were great value eggs. They were just great value eggs. They weren't free range organic and all that crazy stuff. They were just eggs. And wow. So then I was like, well, I'm going to see what the price of eggs is for us. Now, we haven't bought eggs in a couple of months because of the cost of eggs. The last time, and I'm looking at it right here in front of my face, the last time that we bought the box of 60 eggs was in October. That's the last time we bought it. And it was like 18 something then. And I did it that one time, and I'm like, I can't do that again. I just can't do that again. So after seeing that little short video on Facebook, I went over and I took a look-see at what our town, what Walmart wants for them. $27.24 for a box of 60 eggs. Now, these are the same eggs that we've bought for years. And I was paying like $8-something for a box of 60 eggs. I mean, that was the going price. $8-something for a box of 60 eggs. And it never really went over that. In fact, sometimes it dropped below 8 a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. Not now. $27.24. So needless to say, we didn't get eggs this month either. Insane. Now the chicken, and when I say the chicken, I'm talking about Great Values El Cheapo chicken legs, $5 for the bag, right? those, I mean, they did go up a little while back. They're just under $6 a bag now. So they did go up a little bit. It's been, I don't know, a couple months ago they went up like $1. And fortunately, they haven't went up anymore. But I'm going to keep my eye on them. Do I expect, food prices and everything to continue rising? Yeah. In the short term, yeah. I think in the long term we might be doing a lot better, but it takes a while for things to happen. And for instance, one of the big costs of any type of product is going to be fuel costs. And if Trump snapped his fingers tomorrow and, fuel dropped $2, whatever it is now, if it dropped $2 per gallon tomorrow, it would still take a little while for that to work down through the market, including things like eggs or anything else. So I would say it would probably take a minimum of a couple of months. So hopefully we see something. But wow, it's crazy. Like I said, the entire day, news has been crazy the entire day. The USAID, I'm going to talk about that. USAID, however you want to say it. Sometimes I say you said. It is what it is, right? But USAID, that's freaking crazy. I saw a little bit of video earlier to where there was a bunch of people that were trying to get into the building, and Department of Homeland Security was standing in front of the building, and apparently somebody with USAID, I guess some official with USAID was with Department of Homeland Security, and telling people, we can't let you in, They asked them, is anybody inside? Who's inside? And the guy confirmed that there were 8 people inside. But wouldn't give them any more information than that. They had asked if was it people with Doge or what, and he wouldn't give them any more information than that. So interesting stuff, and we'll get into that. It's not nuked. It's not completely nuked. They're not, from my understanding, as it is now, they're not totally removing USAID. However, they have taken complete control of it. And it looks like they might be merging it. We'll get into that a little bit later. The first thing that I want to talk about is what I mentioned earlier. Because right after the mid-air collision in D.C., Trump made a statement about DEI. And I thought it was really out of place. And I thought it was wrong, to be quite honest. And here's why. I was thinking he was referencing the air traffic controller. And I personally know somebody that used to fly with me in Flight Simulator. As a teenager, he was in high school. And I, in communication with him throughout, it's been a little while since I've talked to him, but it wasn't that long ago that I talked to him. I think we flew in the new sim one day, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been the old one. Anyway, he became air traffic control. And it's a process. I mean, it starts out with getting your pilot's license, and there's a lot of schooling involved in it. A lot of schooling. And just like you've heard said, it's the best and the brightest. The people that work in ATC, they're the best and the brightest. And I didn't understand how his DEI comment would apply to somebody in an air traffic control tower. That's because that statement didn't apply to him or her. I don't know. I believe that statement applied to the pilot in training, if you will, of the helicopter. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Got an article on this. Black Hawk pilot in D.C. crash identified as former Biden aide. Now, before we get into this, I have watched several videos and I've read several posts. I belong to aviation groups and stuff, and of course they've been talking about this stuff. And, there's a lot of pilots in those groups. And so I've seen a particular sentiment mentioned in those groups quite a bit and in video content on YouTube by pilots. And the media was kind of spinning it off that the female pilot had 500 hours, and that seems like a lot of time. And they were kind of playing it off like it was a lot of time. Yet everybody, all these other pilots that I hear talking about this says, nah, she should have had twice that to be doing what she was doing. She should have had twice that. No questions asked. And I thought, I found out about her being a White House social aide. So she hadn't even really been doing a lot of flying, apparently, as of recent. So they took her from out of the White House, where she was being an aide for Biden, and I guess pretty much first thing they decided to do was throw her in a training mission for continuity of government. So now, when we take another look at this, and we ask the question, why was the helicopter out of place, and why was the helicopter high? Now it makes a little more sense. I don't know if they're going to find out that the barometer wasn't set for the altimeter. Because some aircraft, they'll automatically set it, but most aircraft, you have to adjust it. I forget what they call that little window, but you have to adjust to the barometer setting of where you are at, and it will adjust your altimeter for altitude. And so that could most certainly cause several things. Now, you've probably heard that the tower was registering the VH60, and yeah, I'm going to say that a million times, VH60, because all the news media just wants to say H60. I think that's humorous. VH60. The tower was reading it being at 200 feet, from my understanding. However, the ADSB, which is what the tower is getting its information from, as far as the altitude and whatnot, if the barometer, I'm calling it barometer, but if your altimeter wasn't set to the right pressure, barometric pressure, and that was off, then that ADSB would have been off as well. So that might explain the discrepancy in altitude as far as what the tower was seeing. All this information will come out, and it will be determined. But the more and more that it looks like essentially what they did is, and I'm not going to say that this female pilot, Rebecca Lobach, I'm not going to say she was a DEI hire. I'm not going to say that. Look, she was a pilot in the military. They don't just put anybody in those positions. And you have to work at that. I think the biggest issue here was that she hadn't really been flying a whole lot because she'd been busy being an aide for the Biden administration. So, in my opinion, maybe they should have had her on a lot more simple tasks until she got used to the aircraft again before putting her on a training mission quite like that. Just my opinion. This is what this article says. A female pilot of the helicopter that collided with a passenger aircraft outside Washington, D.C. last week has served as a White House social aide in former President Joe Biden's administration. Her family has said in a statement after her name was released by the military. The U.S. Army had earlier identified the woman as Captain Rebecca Lobach, 28. The mid-air collision took place last Wednesday, claiming the lives of 67 people. And I will stop here and say I think that they have the last number I've heard that they positively identified 55, and there were comments made today that made it sound like they're pretty confident that they found everybody. So whether or not they have remains and they've been identified are two different things. So, to me, that's a big deal. Because I don't even understand how somebody could get closure if they couldn't recover their family member. And so that, to me, that's a big deal. So hopefully they are able to recover and identify all of them. It says Lobach served as a White House social aide after volunteering to support Biden in hosting countless White House events, including some medal award ceremonies, according to her family statement published on social media over the weekend. Photos of Lobach that surfaced online showed her in the White House briefing room and at award ceremonies. Her family initially asked the military not to release her name to the public in the wake of the crash, according to NPR, a request the outlet called unusual in cases involving accidents or combat deaths, and I would agree with that as being unusual. U.S. Army said she had served as an aviation officer since 2019 and been awarded several medals over the course of her service. She completed a degree in biology at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill as a distinguished military graduate before joining the Army, CBS reported. President Donald Trump blamed the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives of the previous administration for the deadly mid-air collision. He also attributed to the disaster to a mistake by the helicopter pilot. It had the ability to go up or down. It had the ability to turn, and the turn it made was not the correct turn, obviously, Trump said last Thursday. He did not provide any specific evidence to back up those claims as the investigation into the incident is still ongoing. Well, there's one thing that the media, and anybody else for that matter, needs to understand. Donald J. Trump, like it or not, is President of the United States of America. I am pretty sure he will be briefed on and have information before we do. And while I don't totally agree with the notion that this pilot was a quote-unquote DEI hire, she probably shouldn't have been involved in a training mission like that so soon after coming off of whatever you want to call it with the White House. And I'm not knocking her for that at all. I'm just saying maybe she should have had a little bit more stick time before you go throwing her on a night mission next to a big international airport. And, I just think it was probably too soon to put her on that mission. So, of course, the Army's not going to take, they're not going to accept the blame. You can expect that. In fact, today I saw a couple military I can't say officers. I don't know what rank they were, but they were Army, and they were speaking about the incident. And they were doing what they do. They were deflecting the entire thing. Of course, it can't be their fault. That's the way the military works. So anyway, that was wild. What about though with Trump and Mexico and Canada? I think I almost peed myself when I seen the headlines come out for Canada. Wow. I mean, Trump is kicking ass and taking names, is he not? That was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I expected, well, of course, that Colombia, and I figured Colombia was going to, bend the knee pretty quick. I mean, it's kind of a small nation. Mexico, I wasn't so sure on how long it would take. I figured at some point they would. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't think Canada was going to bend the knee that quick. So Mexico bent the knee and had agreed to put some like 10,000 Mexican troops on the U.S. or on the border. I don't want to say U.S.-Mexican border. I think that is what I read, but I'm not positive. That could also include borders of other countries going into Mexico. So I guess the Mexican president has agreed to do that. And they're going to put same thing, I guess, goes for both Mexico and Canada. It's like a 30-day pause on the tariffs. So it's not like, game off or anything. It's just like game postponed. So apparently Canada has made much the same type of agreement as far as helping secure the border. I've got an article on this, but I was kind of shocked because Trudeau came out at first and he was more or less, threatening the United States. Well, Mexico did too. But then Mexico caved pretty quick. And I think that the issue was, I think Canada and Mexico were supposed to be working together against us kind of thing. And I think what happened was Trudeau seen Mexico cave and realized they were standing there by themselves. I think that's kind of what happened, but he was, Trudeau, he was talking some smack at first, and I thought it was going to take a little bit for them to, to come around, but boy, that's not the case. Let me get my little app open here, and we will check it out. Trump agrees to pause tariffs on Canada and Mexico after they pledge to boost border enforcement. By the way, what you see up, hang on. I said go to studio. What you see up here is L.A. right now. There are protests going on currently that the police have deemed as whatever the hell. Oh, unlawful assembly. I forgot the words that they call it. Unlawful assembly. And so, that's what's going on. They're, anti-ICE protests and stuff. And I think, they love those damn, what do they call that? When they funnel everybody into a spot. I can't remember the word they used for that. But I'm surprised they haven't done that and then started deportations. But I just, I don't have a problem with protest at all. In fact, I'm a firm supporter of protest. But to protest what they are protesting, I don't jive with that. Especially when you're walking around in the United States with Mexican. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, to me, that's like the epitome of invading a country. I mean, You're walking through the streets of the United States talking about how, essentially the border should be open, carrying another country's flag. Now, if that isn't occupation or invasion, I don't know what is. So I'm not so sure how hip I am on that nonsense, but anyway, that's what you see going on up there. Let's see. Got all kinds of notifications going on. So, back to this. Trump agrees to pause tariffs on Canada and Mexico after they pledged to boost border enforcement. President Donald Trump on Monday agreed to a 30-day pause on his tariff threats against Mexico and Canada as America's two largest trading partners took steps to appease his concerns about border security and drug trafficking. The pauses provide a cool-down period after a tumultuous few days that put North America on the cusp of a trade war that risks crushing economic growth, causing prices to soar, and ending two of the United States' most critical partnerships. I am very pleased with this initial outcome, and the tariffs announced on Saturday will be paused for a 30-day period to see whether or not a financial economic deal with Canada can be structured, Trump posted on social media. Fairness for all. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau posted Monday afternoon, Mr. Sparkly Socks, he posted Monday afternoon on X that the pause would occur while we work together, saying that his government would name a fentanyl czar, list Mexican cartels as terrorist groups, and launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. The pause followed a similar move with Mexico that allows for a period of negotiations over drug smuggling and illegal immigration. The 10% tariff that Trump ordered on China is still set to go into effect as scheduled on Tuesday, though Trump planned to talk with Chinese President Xi Jinping in the next few days. While a trade war feared by investors, companies, and political leaders now seems less likely to erupt, that doesn't mean the drama is over. Trump's tariff threats has ended. Canada and Mexico bought some additional time, but Trump could easily renew his tariffs and already have plans to announce taxes on imports from the European Union. All of that leaves the global economy uncertain about whether a crisis has been averted or if a possible catastrophe could be still be coming in the weeks ahead. So I've talked about this. I talked about this, I think, a little bit last night. Let me kind of run through this again. So let's say you own a company, and most companies work on bulk. I mean, you kind of got to, depending on the industry. But most industries, they work on bulk sales. Hang on, coffee. And speaking of coffee, Tim Pool put out a video today, and even he was talking about this. Because Tim's got his line of coffee, right? And Tim even said the same thing I'm saying. You're talking about a business owner, right? Somebody with skin in the game that's actually saying the same damn thing that I'm saying. So, when you own a business, when you make a product, the whole point is to sell that product. It's to move product. So, if you raise your price so much that it dwarfs the cost of other people's products, guess what happens? You lose your sales on those products and another company picks them up. So in many cases, in situations like these tariffs and whatnot, companies will try to adjust their prices so that the prices on the shelf isn't quite so shocking. They will try. Even Tim said that they would do, because it's coffee. Some of it comes from Mexico, Colombia, and all that, right? He said that they would do what they could, in order to eat the costs, essentially, so that their customers didn't have to pay more money for the coffee. So that's the way a lot of business is. It's not going to be a matter of, and again, I'll remind people that this happened once before. Right? 2016, 2017, Trump was on a tariff kick. And everybody was saying the world was going to come to an end, the cost of everything was going to go through the roof. And what happened? Cost went down. Now, cost didn't go down because of the tariffs. Cost went down because of all other things that kind of surrounded that, like lower fuel prices. That was a big part of it. There are a lot of other factors. When you talk economy, there's a lot of factors. It's not just a couple of little things. You have to look at the big picture. I'm looking at the big picture. You can damn well bet that Trump's going to get the energy costs, fuel costs down. You can bet that. You can damn well bet that he's going to drive manufacturing and industry back into the United States. He's done it once before. It might be rough, like Trump says, and anybody else. You know, there's probably going to be some pain. It's going to be a little while before we start to see the positive effects of what he's doing. I'm not a trumpet. I don't blindly support anybody. No human being, that's for damn sure. I will support the Father with all my heart. But man, nah, not even close. So I'm not blinded by Trump. I think the whole Trump derangement syndrome goes both ways. People that absolutely can't stand him and will say anything because they can't stand him, and those that will say anything because he can't do anything wrong. It goes both ways. I think we got pain coming, but I think we also got lower prices coming. And I think we got better relations with foreign nations coming. Trump knows what he's doing. I gotta hand it to him. He called this much better than I could have. That's what he does, though. He's a businessman. Man. Crazy. Just looking, I still got 3 tabs. One of them's the warning to EU citizens. One of them's talking about the USAID. And the last one, something associated with the NFL email, some NFL emails, and freaking clergy abuse. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Let's start out with the EU. The Estonian government has recommended that citizens stockpile food, water, medications, alternative lighting sources, like a crack pipe, crack lighter. No. Alternative lighting sources and even board games, in anticipation for potential power outages as the country exits the energy system it shares with Russia on February 8th. The warning was reported by the Estonian news outlet ERR, citing the country's Risk Prevention Bureau. Estonia, along with neighbors Latvia and Lithuania, which are all members of NATO and the EU, are preparing to transition to the continental European electricity grid as part of its efforts to cut energy ties with Moscow. Problems such as cable failures or substation fires could arise unexpectedly when connecting to alternative European power grid known as the ENTSO-E, according to Tuomas Cap, head of the Tartu Waterworks in Estonia. However, he expressed confidence that the system would be able to handle any unforeseen situations. The Baltic country is currently part of BREL, an electric grid that connects the power systems of Belarus, Russia, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Established by an agreement in 2001, these countries committed to exchanging electricity and supporting each other during emergencies. Estonian Prime Minister Kristen Michal, or however you say that, previously stated that the worst-case scenario following the exit from BREL could involve power outages lasting up to 72 hours. He emphasized that Estonia is prepared for any outcome but stressed the importance of careful planning and maintaining calm. The decision by Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania to disconnect from BREL and connect to ENTSO-E was made in 2018. This month, they plan to test their power grids in isolation before connecting to the EU system through Poland. Baltic states have repeatedly claimed that dependency on the Moscow-controlled network creates a threat if Russia were to weaponize its electricity supply and disconnect them from the network. Such fears have never materialized. The move to the European energy grid will likely mean higher electricity prices for the three countries. Russian power prices, which are regulated by the state, are some of the lowest in the world, averaging roughly 0.055 cents per kilowatt hour for consumers in 2024. Electricity prices in the EU vary from country to country, with Germany having the highest price per kilowatt hour last year at 0.3951 or roughly 40 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, imagine that. And weren't they touting Germany about having so much renewable energy and all that? Remember that? It wasn't that long ago, really. I mean, several years, but they were touting all the alternative energy that Germany had. Yeah, apparently that's not working out for them. Estonia's disconnection from BREL will not impact Russia's energy security, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told journalists on Friday. These plans were announced long ago. Our power providers took measures to ensure the uninterrupted, reliable operation of our unified energy system, he added. So, yeah, kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. I still wonder, though. Well, coffee time, then I'll wonder. You know, you hear in this country about how they brag about energy independence and how it's such a matter of national security and yada yada. But if they were worried about national security and true energy independence, they would be encouraging homeowners to get alternative energy, right? Because, sure, having a solar farm isn't necessarily a grand idea, but as far as individual households, yeah, it's a bit of an investment, but it's not that hard. Again, it's an investment to be able to provide 100% of your own power. If you've got enough panels, enough battery storage, yeah, it's not an issue. Especially as long as you don't have things like electric heat, right? So I never could understand why, instead of encouraging individual homeowners to put in their own system of power, they want everybody on that grid. Either you want national security or you don't. And national security isn't achieved by centralization. That's just goofy. Anyway, now this whole USAID topic. Holy cow. I mean, I've heard just some of the stuff that money goes for. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And it sounds like to me that a lot of people that are benefiting from that, this is how it works, okay? Not every time, but there's a lot of times it works this way. So you get another country to accept money for whatever the hell project you dream up together, right? And, hey, you know, if you know somebody that can help get this project passed through, well then, you know, maybe you could donate some of that money to my foundation, right? And I think that's a lot of what's going on here. You got people wheeling and dealing with other nations to get aid money sent to them, and in lieu of them backing them getting that aid money, they get some of it back. And I think that's why you see so much hell being raised by politicians that are benefiting from USAID, because this is gonna stop that. That's no longer gonna work. You should have saw. I mean, had these crazy statements that the Democrats were saying today about the stuff going on, and I thought it was awful interesting because they were largely going after Elon Musk. And Elon Musk isn't the one that shut down USAID. Elon Musk don't have that authority to shut down USAID. Trump shut down USAID. But every one of these Democrat politicians was putting 100% of it on Elon Musk. And talking about how he's not an elected representative and blah, blah, blah. Unbelievable. They are upset. Boy, the evil is a squirmin'. I like it. So like I said earlier, though, USAID isn't over. It's not totally done. They have closed it. They are auditing it. And I think it's going to be put, Marco Rubio is going to be apparently in charge of it, along with his other duties as Secretary of State. So this is that article. It says U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced on Monday that he has assumed the role of acting administrator of the U.S. Agency for International Development. Earlier in the day, it was reported in the U.S. media that the agency had closed its headquarters. President Donald Trump has accused the agency's leadership of being radical lunatics and proposed major changes to the organization. USAID also found itself under scrutiny by the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, led by tech billionaire Elon Musk, who has become a close advisor to Trump. "I'm the acting director of USAID," the top U.S. diplomat told journalists in El Salvador. He also said he had handed over day-to-day duties of running the agency to a staffer, but did not identify that person. "This is not about ending programs the USAID does, per se," Rubio stated, adding that some of them were good, but others raised strong questions. He also maintained that everything that USAID does has to be in alignment with the national interest and the foreign policy of the United States. He did not elaborate on any specific changes he might want to make within the agency. He earlier stated that a program-by-program review would be carried out to determine which ones make America safer, stronger, or more prosperous. Musk had previously claimed that Trump had agreed to shut down the agency altogether. The president also branded it a criminal organization that he believes is financing bioweapons research, including projects that allegedly led to the emergence of COVID-19. Established in 1961, USAID is a soft power agency that distributes billions of dollars each year to projects that promote U.S. interests around the world under the premise of humanitarian development. Last week, Trump halted all of its programs for 90 days and ordered them to be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. According to Rubio, the move led to a lot more cooperation from the recipients of U.S. assistance. The agency's website went dark, and its account on social media platform X, which is owned by Musk, disappeared over the weekend. On Monday, USAID also reportedly closed its main office in Washington, D.C., and told personnel to stay away from it. So I'm sure there is one hell of an audit going on, and I really do think that there's going to be a massive trimming, if you will. I don't think that they're going to completely do away with it. I think they're just going to go down the list. They're going to, like they said, they're going to find out what's in line with our interests and make sure that that's taken care of. And the stuff that's not in line with our interests, that's going to get canceled. I think they're going to, hell, Elon's already saved the United States a ton of money. I think they're going to save a lot of money here, a ton of money here too. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane what's going on. Oh yeah, I hear ya. Sorry, I just now looked down. No, they don't want to poke the dragon, Trump. It is it's kind of crazy. Hang on, let me blow my nose. Alrighty. One more story for you. And this is crazy. I would like to see, I'm not going to read this long ass thing, but I would like to see something actually done with this. Now I'll read maybe the first section or two after some coffee. I'll tell you what, my body was craving food today. I normally don't eat very much. I just ate and ate and ate today. I don't know if my body's been trying to come down with something, because it will do that. Generally, if I just have this insane appetite that my body is craving non-stop food, it's usually because something's trying to get a hold of me, or as far as a sickness. Normally, I don't have to eat that much. My body's I listen to my body. When my body says, hey, it's time to eat something, I eat something. I've been that way for much of my life. So when it starts really craving food, like all day long, something's up. Alrighty. Let's see. NFL emails reveal extent of Saints damage control for clergy sex abuse crisis. When I saw that headline, I'm like, what? A New Orleans church leader braced for the fallout from publishing a list of predatory Catholic priests. They turned to an unlikely ally, the front office of the city's NFL franchise. What followed was a months-long crisis communications blitz orchestrated by the New Orleans Saints president and other top team officials, according to hundreds of internal emails obtained by the Associated Press. The records, which the Saints and church had long sought to keep out of public view, revealed team executives played a more extensive role than previously known in a public relations campaign to mitigate fallout from the clergy sexual abuse crisis. The email shed new light on the Saints' foray into a fraught topic far from the gridiron, a behind-the-scenes effort driven by the team's devoutly Catholic owner, who has long enjoyed a close relationship with the city's embattled archbishop. They also showed how various New Orleans institutions, from a sitting federal judge to the local media, rallied around church leaders in a critical moment. Among the key moments, as revealed in the Saints' own emails, Saints executives were so involved in the church's damage control that a team spokesman briefed his boss on a 2018 call with the city's top prosecutor hours before the church released a list of clergymen accused of abuse. The call, the spokesman said, allowed us to take certain people off the list. Team officials were among the first people outside the church to view that list, a carefully curated yet undercounted roster of suspected pedophiles. The disclosure of those names invited civil claims against the church and drew attention from federal and state law enforcement. The team's president, Dennis Lauscha, drafted more than a dozen questions that Archbishop Gregory Amen should be prepared to answer as he faced reporters. Saints Senior Vice President of Communications, Greg Benzel, provided fly-on-the-wall updates to Lauscha about local media interviews, suggesting church and team leaders were all on the same team. He is doing well, Benzel wrote, as the Archbishop told reporters the church was committed to addressing the crisis. That is our message, Benzel added, that we will not stop here today. The emails obtained by AP sharply undercut assurances the Saints gave fans about the public relations guidance 5 years ago, when they asserted that they had provided only minimal assistance to the church. The team went to court to keep its internal emails secret. It's just insane. Absolutely mind-blowing. And I don't get why people keep playing with it. I'm talking about the officials, whether it be law enforcement, whether it be Congress, whether it be the president. Look, I think it's crazy that you can have lists like this, especially of clergy members. And instead of anything getting done about it, they just send them off to different churches. They just move them around. It's like a shell game. You never hear anything more about it. And it's not just the Catholic Church, but I think the Catholic Church is a big part of it. I don't understand why they just let it go. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Anyway, I don't got anything else, I reckon. It's been a busy news day. I was struggling to keep up today, that's for sure. As usual, I'll be keeping an eye out for what happens throughout the day tomorrow and catch up on what happens overnight. And be back for another installment of The Clown Show But, wow. Absolutely crazy. Hang in there, folks. I did shopping today, grocery shopping. Holy cow. Every month, it gets more expensive and more expensive. And the last several months, I get done shopping, and all I can think is, I hope we have enough. And the last few months, I'm going to be honest here, we've had to get into our preps a little bit and eat a little bit out of our preps just to be enough to hold us over. Getting down low on coffee, creamer, sugar, all that stuff I used to have well stocked. But there's some months that I've had to go without getting sugar or creamer or coffee. Because we just, we got to eat. That's number one. We got to eat. It's getting rough. It is getting rough. I think we might see it get just a little bit rougher before it eases up. I do think it's going to ease up. But I don't think that's going to be tomorrow. I think we're looking at a minimum of a few months. Minimum. That's like bare minimum. So do what you can to hang in there. I mean, if we have to do that for 3-4 more months, take a little bit out of the prepper stuff to get us by, we'll be okay. It's going to put a hell of a dent in the stuff we have for preparedness. But, well, not a hell of a dent, but I mean, it's going to be definitely noticed. I hate touching anything I have put back at all. Man, do I hate it. But it's times like this, I'm damn well glad we did it. It's not, and I've said this many times, it's not just for the end of the world. The big SHTF. It's for little bitty crises, if you will, too. So it's come in handy. Something I'm glad that we've put time and attention and money towards, because it has certainly saved our butts the last few months. Just hang in there the best you can. Pray that things ease up soon, and that things go down the right path. Anyway, I am going to get out of here. I appreciate y'all coming. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll do it again. Hopefully the news is not quite as busy tomorrow. All right, have a good evening, folks. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Shalom.